and how this becomes your superpower. And it is a pleasure to be here with you all. And my name is Maria Semple, and I am streaming live from the YouTube Maria and Sunday channel. And my theme for today is your emotional intelligence is your superpower, as I mentioned before. But I want to mention that last week we spoke about the importance of recognizing the seizing opportunities both in personal and in our professional life. And I talk about the power of building networks with like-minded people, and I introduced the concept of connect, invite, and propose as a framework for impactful collaborations that will take you to being more intentional. And you can check the live here as well if you are interested in getting to know a little bit more about this topic of connecting with others and creating impactful collaborations in an intentional way. Well, the key takeaway was that building strong relationships that you can then create a path to new possibilities, making it easier to turn your aspirations into a reality. And today I am so excited because I prepare myself throughout the week to be here in this space with you all. And I confess that I don't know it all, but I have taken the stance to be here present with you all, share my energy and what I know, and also what I may not know, because it's impossible to know everything. And so what if your greatest strength wasn't a skill, but your emotional intelligence? I want you to discover today and tap into your emotional intelligence as your superpower. But I am very curious about how it works. But I also have another question: that how often do you feel overwhelmed, possibly even misunderstood at work, on your life, and even stuck with the way or on the present time where you are today? Well, maybe you have found yourself reacting impulsively to situations or feeling disconnected from your emotions. And it's very easy because sometimes we put a block in order to disconnect from the world and to be able to function at the level of emotional intelligence that we have at the time. And sometimes it is, for many of us, unsure how to handle the pressure. But today I want to talk to you about the results also that I had when I did my first emotional capital, uncovering my emotional capital, which is 10 capabilities, not only of emotional intelligence, but of my leadership abilities or traits. So I have news for you today. We live in a fast paced world, as you may know, because right now I am competing for your attention. And perhaps you have looking at to this live right now, but also you might be waiting to cross a traffic light and you're still on your device and you hear the noise. So we live in a fast paced world that also values hard skills. And those skills that focus on programming, maybe analysis of data, uh, operating machinery, or even the search engine optimization. And sometimes these tasks prefer, um, well, they have a preference over emotional insights, what the people call soft skills. But here is the problem: without understanding how we manage our emotions and how they impact not only our decisions but our relationships around in our workplace, in our family. Sometimes emotional intelligence starts in our small nucleo of our family surroundings. So we can end up burnt out if we don't understand this, if we're constantly reacting. We can feel frustrated and feeling like we're not making real progress. It's like trying to steer a ship without a compass. But you know what? If you will live in a city where you have a large harbor and port, sometimes you see the tugboats pushing and steering to the right channels in order for the ship to dock. And that is exactly how emotional intelligence will guide us to steer us into the right area and making the right impact and revolving our day without that emergency reaction that sometimes we can apply. So, the solution that I want to offer for you is to help you navigate chaos with clarity and confidence. And wouldn't that be amazing? So, there is the solution for your emotional intelligence. This is to also understand a little bit more. And if you have the opportunity to reach out, not only to me, but also others that might offer you tangible results in measuring your current levels of emotional intelligence, and therefore you will be able to know where you stand with all these the scale of your skills and competencies. Well, welcome once again. It is wonderful to be here. And what I wanted to discuss is we're diving into this transformative area that it can be developed as a skill, and it's often overlooked because, as I mentioned before, in many areas of our life, hard skills and isolated areas of work are kind of preferred. And well, when you lead, you also are able to thrive. And emotional intelligence, what people call EQ, is more than just understanding emotions. It's about using that as a fuel for personal and professional success. Well, I want to really say that this is part of the step one of my Reclaim Your Vision, Rewrite Your Story program. I don't like to call it mine because it's also your program. And when you decide to come on board and join us, the emotional intelligence is what we call the hidden superpower. We are not really all the time, you know, aware of these 10 capabilities that we can apply at all times. So, emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize and understand and how we manage our emotions. For example, I want to say here that when we know ourselves, then we are able to know and name our emotions. We also understand the impact of emotions in ourselves and others, and we understand the behavioral impact of our emotions if we are abrupt or in a rude manner. Well, imagine how these impact in and others around us. So think about this emotional intelligence as your user manual for your brain, guiding you to navigate these interactions and challenges. As I mentioned before, the analogy of the big ship entering the harbor and also docking, and how the tugboats are steering it. And sometimes you see two or three tugboats pushing it gradually, slowly as the ship move. And in this sense, it's not nothing or no one that can push you, but your own self-awareness and working on these areas to get you the results that you want. Well, imagine a leader, and I work with many leaders during my time when I used to work for different government departments, non for profits, and also private corporate who consistently struggle under stress and because they lack self control. I cannot imagine to be in an environment of working with someone call himself or herself a leader that has these traits, and it will just kind of even trigger me. And that's where my emotional intelligence needs to be assertive and yes, and really to help me and the team to move forward if I was in that situation. But I want to say that now, think about another leader who invests his time or her time in getting to know his teams, in bringing them together, in chatting about what are your key activities today and how can you cooperate with others or collaborate in order to take that forward. When a leader comes and invests genuine interest in listening to you, to your stories, to your struggles, and then builds that rapport and trust with the teams. That is amazing. That is the kind of leader that I want you to be and develop into. Also recognize those who lead you and that they may not be so self-aware because they also have other people leading above them to pressure the environments and what they call the KPIs, which is the awful thing that happens. You are a number sometimes, and that's why I insist in the importance of reclaiming your vision and rewriting your story, whichever way you decide to go in your life. So the problem here is that why people are avoiding to learn more about emotional intelligence. And is it possible that you are holding yourself back because you're unaware on how to manage your emotions effectively? And it is true, it is possible that we don't know how we are able to react. And yes, I will give you some tips. So many people associate leadership and success, again, as I mentioned before, with the hard skills, underestimating the power of our emotional mastery, of 10 capabilities that had been measured over thousands and thousands of studies of leaders around the world. And I will be able to mention a few here, and they are self-knowing, self-confidence, self actualization, empathy, self control, straightforwardness, which was a skill that I needed to improve, adaptability, optimism, self reliance. Wow, there are 10, and I read you possibly the 10 of them or just a few. So, the common myth that you find is that emotions shouldn't play a role in decision making. Well, when we are in an emergency stage, then we trigger the lower part of the brain that activates a response of fight or flight. And it is not a great moment to make decisions. However, when we then engage the CEO of the brain, which is the visual cortex, and sit with others and imagine what can we do today? And go and participate and brainstorms with your team and with your family of your friends. Then you can access that CEO that will help you to make decisions that are right for you and that are based on your values. Emotional intelligence is more than just being nice, friends. So, why is this important? What if cultivating your emotional intelligence could be the difference between feeling overwhelmed and feeling in control? And I will give you an example here for when I did this this survey 2 years ago. I have done another survey since, and it came more as a development opportunity, meaning that my scores were quite low. Well, I decided that I needed to identify what was the primary objective that I had at the time of kind of bulldozing people. But before you kind of make a comment or judge me, in 2022, we were just coming out of the pandemic, and I also experienced enormous stress and duress through some personal challenges. So at the time, yes, the lower part of my brain seemed to be triggering emergency responses. And at times, if people challenge me with certain things or arguing, I could then become, for an instant, unaware of my responses and have a very average answer at the time. And understanding that it helps you to control this behavior. And then I worked with a coach appropriately at the time that helped me then improve my understanding on these and ask myself even better questions, better quality of questions. And that is what I want for you. So embracing emotional intelligence can help you shift from being reactive to proactive. And when we react, again, we trigger the lower part of the brain, the amygdala, and we're not engaging the CEO as the orchestra director, which is our visual cortex. Our cortex is the larger part of our brain that it sits in this prefrontal area. And so I want to say that, yes, how often do you recognize your emotions and how you are feeling? Is that often? Well, according to studies, 90% of top performers have high EQ, have high levels of emotional intelligence. And, out of the other 10%, there are still room for development and improvement. So, how emotional intelligence solves problems? And if you are struggling with relationships, not only at work, but in your personal life, and then there might be some emotional intelligence key here that might be missing. Self knowing helps you to recognize triggers and patterns, as I mentioned before, that it helps you to understand your emotions and the impact of those emotions in yourself and others. Also, empathy, which is one of the traits or the capabilities of leaders. It helps you to improve communication and build stronger connections. Why? Because you are there fully present, listening to the person, listening from your heart, and then you are able to deeply understand that person. So, empathy also helps us to improve our emotional intelligence. Adaptability and self regulation allows us to handle stressful situations without reacting impulsively. Well, you know, and it's quite difficult at times, and it's a fine line here we must understand. And I always speak to those women that are in contract jobs, in contract situations where tonight on their way home, they could get a phone call from the recruitment agency and say, your contract has been canceled. We have decided to pay you until the end of the week, and just because we're nice. So imagine the self regulation that you need to have in that moment to not trigger a bad response, but also go home with that trepidation and that rumination of that you just been out of work. And that is why it is so important to build your connections, to go through steps to reclaim your vision and rewrite a new story, to be prepared. And adaptability is also a key to leadership, adapting and understanding that jobs are not there to last forever. And the more you cling into it, the more you will suffer. And how about if you could reclaim that vision of who you ever or you always wanted to be and start working towards those aspirations? That is a great way here. Well, we are at a fun part of this live presentation, and I want to introduce to you the Take Control Challenge. How about that? Well, I live here on my own and I can only control sometimes when little Sunday makes me mad and disobeys, and he wants to walk directly into the footpath, and there are lots of cars. But imagine, I would like for you in the next 24 hours to challenge yourself, and before reacting emotionally, can you breathe and count till 5? And perhaps if you use a phone and notes, you might be able to then write the emotion that you're feeling and how you were able to respond. How about that as a challenge? And then you will be able to come here to the live and let me know what's happening. Well, I would like to then wrap up with some key points from today's conversation. It's now time to wrap up. Emotional intelligence is a key to both your personal and your professional success. Self awareness or self knowing, empathy are foundational parts to reclaim your vision and rewrite a new story. But I want you to think about deeply about these words. Self awareness, when you know yourself and you are aware at all times of how you are reacting and what you feel inside of you of that you want to be and do and have, that it helps you to reclaim your vision and rewrite your story. Developing emotional intelligence is not just about understanding emotions, it's also about using them as tools, as primary tools to grow yourself and also grow your genuine connections around you. Emotional intelligence is your secret weapon to navigate challenges, foster meaningful relationships, and lead with confidence, but also manage obstacles that arise throughout your day. And whether you are leading others, whether you are leading a family, whether you are being led by others, developing your own emotional intelligence will help you raise your standards. Because let's face it, if you are working for an organization that it's possibly not considered first class mindset, you might deal with a lot of very substandard leaders. And I will confess that I work with wonderful in my path of government contracts. I work with excellent leaders, many occasions with others that I had to actually check in with what's going on in here, because you're not doing as you said that you will do. And therefore, when you grow your emotional intelligence, you'll understand that how you're being led is not the way you feel congruent about what you want to do and be in your life. And it doesn't feel right. You will sense that. Therefore, when you understand your capabilities in your own emotional intelligence with tangible scores that will help you. Okay, what's going on in here? Then you will be then leaving it to a guess, I suppose. That is that. So remember that the greatest leadership begins with understanding and managing your own self. And I want you to let your emotional intelligence be your superpower, not only today, but every other day as you reclaim your vision and rewrite your story. So I'll also invite you to connect with me by making a comment, like us on our YouTube channel, making a comment if you are listening to this in Facebook. I have a Facebook group that is a private group. You can connect with us there. And I will love to, if this conversation or monologue, if you want to call it that way, resonated with you, I invite you to explore my the Reclaim Rewrite Yours, Reclaim Your Vision, Rewrite Your Story. I'm thinking too fast here. Reclaim Your Vision, Rewrite Your Story program. And I offer every 6 weeks or so, I offer a topic, a 3 days topic for 1 hour based on elements of this wonderful program that is a life accelerator. And in that sense, you learn more about me, I learn more about you, and perhaps you will be able to help yourself only with the free tools that I offer, or you want to take it to the next level. In any way, the choice is yours, and I am here to serve you in a powerful way. You can connect with me in the socials, like this video, and subscribe if that is what you would like. It is wonderful to be here, and until next time, next week, I have a new topic to discuss with you. And